Welcome. This is Mitch Tarr speaking, and you are in for a treat, especially if you are looking for ways to make your email marketing campaigns more effective. And there are lots of ways to do that, but we're just going to focus in on 7 key things that the professionals do to make their email campaigns better and better. So, just a few minutes or a few seconds on who I am. President and CEO of Zen Marketing Inc. I wrote the No Spam Email Marketing course. And today, what I'm really excited to share with you real world examples and strategies. It's one thing to set up and send an email, but it's really quite another to make it work. And I've seen emails that just have no effect at all, and I've seen emails that have a huge effect on people's businesses. So it really does make a difference what you do. And what we want to do is share with you how to make it work. So these 7 strategies are things that professionals use. They're things that we use and we've learned from running over 2,400 email campaigns in the past 6 years for companies of all sizes and types. And hopefully you'll be able to adapt some of these things right away into your email campaigns, and you really will see a difference from them. So let's talk about email marketing. I'll share some results with you, and I'll share these expert tips. If you haven't met me before or seen me before on the web, that's what I look like. Very good looking young man. But here's the problem, here's the challenge, here's what you're facing with email marketing. These are the obstacles or things that we hear from our customers most often. Mostly you don't have time to send and create and send emails. It always seems to be a rush. It always seems to be last minute. It always seems to be at the end of the day. You're getting ready for an event. There's always a time deadline, and quite often you just don't get to it. There's lots of other priorities to get in front of it. Getting emails delivered is always an issue. Are they getting through to the inbox? Are they going to the spam folder? What's causing it? How can you prevent it? People always are worried about the risk of being accused of being a spammer. They feel like it could be bad for their reputation, definitely could be bad for their business, and they're totally right. Quite often you are worried about having the lack of a proper email marketing platform, the proper software. You're worried, and quite often you know straight up that you just don't have the skill or experience to do email marketing properly. And it is a skill, and experience really does matter. You've probably got weak email collection strategies. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't know the different ways that people are using. This constantly evolves to collect email addresses and develop their lists to build prospects from, or lists to keep a strong relationship with their customers. Or you may have tried it and it didn't work, and so then you believe, well, email marketing itself doesn't work. When really it's just your implementation. It's not the strategy. It's not it's not email marketing itself. So these seems to be the challenges that people come across most often. And today we're going to talk specifically about strategies that professionals use. So I'm going to go through a checklist of 7 key things that professionals use. We'll talk a little bit about, I'll throw some of my history in of things that we've tried and tested over the years and that we've learned. And we'll just show you concrete strategies that have proven to work. And by proven, tested, where we compare one against the other and one gets you a better result than the other. So here's my background. I learned sales and marketing early in my career working for IBM and working for Oracle. Excellent organizations, tremendous sales organizations, extremely professional, extremely high standards. It was just a great place to learn business and sales and marketing. And I started my marketing career when I attended a 3-day boot camp, which was hosted by Jay Abraham in Los Angeles. If you haven't heard of Jay Abraham, you should look him up and follow his strategies. He is one of the single best marketing minds alive today. He is just a genius at being able to get right to the heart of the matter. He has principles that are proven to work, that generate leverage and huge results. And after listening to him for the weekend and getting hands-on in that style of marketing, I was totally hooked. So I shifted my career and I became a vice president of marketing before and after the dot-com era. And that was most entertaining to go through the peaks and valleys of things that happened at that time. I lived just outside of Seattle. I started internet marketing in 1998, and it was really in the Wild West back in those days. Affiliate programs had just barely been invented. Amazon was one of the early companies that was doing affiliate programs in those days. Internet marketing was just getting started. There was no such thing as a Google. There was no such thing as an AdWords. It was really an interesting time. I started working 6 years later for a company called the Internet Marketing Center, and all they did was teach people how to do internet marketing on the internet. And it was just a tremendous place to develop and prove internet marketing strategies, and email marketing was a really big part of what made that company successful and what they taught to make their customers successful. And I was sold on email marketing after that because of my exposure to Jay Abraham and his direct response strategies. We had a really large list that we worked on. We were sending emails daily to one segment or another of that list, and we tested everything. So the foundations of email marketing that I took into my practice to starting the Zinn Marketing Agency came from having hands-on daily testing with a team of professionals back in that organization. And when I started Zinn Marketing in 2008, all we did was email marketing. That was our specialty. It was the discipline I enjoyed the most, and really the one that I wanted to focus in on. And it really played to some of my own personal strengths. I'm really good at direct response marketing, trying to get somebody to take an action, to become a lead, to sign up for something, to spend some money, to fill in a form. Direct response. And something I took from Jay Abraham and applied to every single business I was in since. There are only three ways to grow a business. Three ways to grow a business, and it's almost impossible to do something that doesn't fall into one of these categories. And the three ways are very simply, the first way is to acquire new customers. Seems kind of obvious, but that's, if you're focused on marketing to acquire new customers, you become very targeted or very zoned in on doing that. Second way is to increase the average order size. You'll know this as, would you like fries with that, or would you like to have a supersize that? But apply that to your business, and all of a sudden the business grows. And the third way is to increase the reorder rate. Get your existing customers to come back. If your marketing falls into one of those three buckets, you will get leverage from it. And most people's marketing, they just call it marketing and it's branding, and they're out there trying to set their reputation. Break your marketing into those three strategies. It'll totally change your business. So that alone is worth an entire training program. But anyway, the other thing we learned and I became quite good at was copy, and developing copy that really made a difference. Understanding that the value that a headline performs, understanding the value that the subject line performs. Words really do make the difference, and it is words that make people or motivate people to do things. Became good at the front end and back end positioning of products. So front end products, things like lost leaders or entry products or client acquisition products, and the back end is reselling products to people that are your customers. And the ideal back end has a larger and larger dollar value and larger margins to them. So good example of front end and back end is if you just look around the room, you've probably got an inkjet printer nearby. Front end is buy the printer for $97, and the back end is endless vials of ink that have very high margins in them. Conversion methodology is another thing I started to excel at, how to get people and measure the transactions. People going to a landing page. So you get 100 visitors to a landing page, you get 7 of them to take the action. That's conversion thinking. And on the internet, it's invaluable to have that skill. And really, one of the great things about email, and I've adapted it from my previous careers, is being able to track and manage the statistics and learn from the numbers. And that has translated into be very excellent in doing email marketing properly. Now, so I applied those to my first accounts when we started the business, went on to run 2,400 campaigns in 104 different industries in like a wide range of size companies. And really that experience, it was just invaluable in helping us to create and learn what works in email marketing, what used to work 10 years ago and 5 years ago and doesn't work so well now, because it does change. I continually go to email conferences run by organizations that pull together case studies and are good at finding other real-life strategies that work. And I follow companies like Marketing Sherpa or Marketing Profs that are very case study oriented or very statistically driven or results oriented, and they'll share with you, here's a campaign, here's why it worked, here's the numbers, because those ones that are real. One of my favorite websites is witchtest1.com, and if you go to that site and sign up for their newsletter, they'll send you an example of a split test that different companies have ran, and they'll say, all right, which was the best case, A or B? And you pick the winner and see if you're right. And they share the results with you, and you learn something from every single case. And that type of split testing is a discipline we use in our business and with our customers, and it's something that, when you see it, it's just invaluable because it's not personal preference or personal theory. It's things that really work. This one was 29% better than that one. So whether you like it or not, do it that way because you'll get the 29% better. And I've interviewed email experts and talk with them constantly. And I've been interviewed by Inc. Magazine, Elance. I've done some blog posting for InternetMarketing.com. Marketo's even called and asked for some content for one of their white papers. So over the years, I've kind of really dug deep into email marketing. And always, or almost always, it comes down to the basics. You do the basics well, and everything else is going to fall into place. So enough about me. Let's just dig right into the strategies that are going to work for you. Don't forget to share, like, or comment on the strategies as they unfold. I'm happy to respond. I keep an eye on those things. So take a look at your email marketing. Are you doing these things, any or all of them? Are you using it for lead gen? Are you inviting people to webinars? Have you got your newsletter set up? Are you using it to distribute press releases? Do you do personal letters from the CEO or president, running customer surveys and marketing surveys? Do you run promotions or coupons or discount offers? Do you do product announcements or product launches? Have you got a new customer series to welcome new customers, or an autoresponder series to welcome new leads? Are you doing all of these things? Because this is just really a portion of what you can do with email marketing. And most of the successful email marketing professionals that I work with, they do these things, and then they do a ton of other things to make their campaigns work. So there really is an incredible spectrum that you can use email marketing for. And it's not like email marketing is one thing. It integrates into all of your other marketing. It's a tremendous support tool. No matter what your strategy is, your business strategy or your marketing strategy, email is a tool that helps you get there. And like I said, it's the basics that matter. So not too long ago, I was watching a golf tournament on TV, and just in the prelude to the tournament, they had a shot of Tiger he wasn't on the driving range, he was on the putting green in this case. And he was doing the putting drill where you put two tees into the ground and you put the ball in between the two tees, and then you stroke your putter in, between that, and you're getting your stroke in a groove. You're trying to make sure that you can swing through the tees without touching them. And he was just doing that endlessly. They showed him hitting the ball again and again and again. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. An amateur just plays golf, but a professional practices golf. And that's what I think email marketing is like that. An amateur will just send an email. A professional will go through a checklist and make sure that all of the key elements are covered. And even though we do email marketing all day long, we still run with checklists because it's just too easy to look at something and go, yep, looks fine, but then forget a key point. So checklists are one of those things which really help you improve. So let's just get to the strategies, and we'll just show you what we're talking about. Strategy number one, or step number one, the magic number is 1. And this is something that you see done wrong quite often. The best emails are emails that just focus on one key concept or one main idea or one thing only. They don't give you lots of options. There's not 22 different things to talk about. There definitely aren't long newsletters. A story, we had a client, or we were doing a newsletter every Friday. And the newsletter was like 18 pages long, and it was jam-packed with content. We had 3 people working through the week to prepare this newsletter. 18 to 20 pages, incredible content, incredible value. People would get the newsletter, and they'd start to read it, and they go, wow, this is amazing, but it's too long. I don't have time to deal with it. So I'm going to set it aside. I got a special folder for your newsletters. And what ended up happening to us was people saw the newsletter, they knew it was going to be big, they really wanted to read it, and they set it aside to read later. And they even create a rule in your inbox. So if newsletter, the rule is, if you see this newsletter, move it to my folder called newsletters to read. And what ended up happening was people never read the newsletter because it was just so good and so valuable and so long that people didn't bother with it. So remember, people's time is precious. So one concept, one idea, short, no conditional statements. Like, if you have seen this before, then do that. And if you haven't done this, then do that. And too many decisions, too many little decisions just lock people up, and they're just as likely to stop dealing with what your newsletter has asked them to deal with, or email has asked them to deal with, and they'll go do something else. So no conditional statements. Just keep it simple, to the point. Primarily focus on one thing for email. You're much better off, and I know you won't agree with this because you're going to say something differently in your head. You're much better off to do 2 separate and different emails as opposed to sneak 2 things into one email, or put the ever conditional, here's the one main thing, or anything else that you might think of. Just focus on one thing per message. And what you think is, well, we'll be sending too many messages if I send two instead of one. And the exact opposite is true. If you send a complicated, heavy thing that people can't deal with, it feels like a burden to them. You send one simple thing, they can read it and deal with it, read it and deal with it, read it and deal with it. And secretly or subconsciously, they appreciate that. So two short messages are way better than one complicated message. And the same holds true for three short messages, way better than one complicated message. Second thing is, are you really giving consideration to getting your email opened? Nothing happens until somebody opens a message and reads it. If your subject line doesn't do its job, the message doesn't get opened. So just think about what your subject line is saying. And the single biggest problem that I see with amateurs creating subject lines is you're trying to be funny or clever or tricky, or you have double meanings in your message. Or you create a subject line which is really long because you're trying to explain everything. All of those things are really bad practice because what you think is funny, you're not funny. When you think it's clever or use a double meaning, it confuses people. So the best kind of subject line is one that has a benefit in it. Learn how to get a. You'll learn those types of things. Save 15%, save 20%, get a discount, get a deal. Try to get a benefit in there that's in for the reader. We'll talk about benefits later. But if you can get a short subject line that has a benefit statement in it, it's going to be much more effective than something which is clever or has a double meaning. So 35 characters isn't a hard and fast rule, but remember on a preview pane, people can't see the entire subject line if you have a long subject line. So even though you can write and send one, people aren't going to see it. So keep it short, put a benefit in, make it compelling. Try to focus in on your audience, something that's specific to your audience. That can really work. Now, sometimes you'll see in the subject line, people will say, use the first name in the subject line so that the subject line would say Mitch, get this free report today. That can work, but that's something that you really want to try out and test to see if it does work for you. It can work if you have a really nice clean database and you have first names for everybody that you know are valid first names. It can work against you if your database isn't clean and you got empty fields or not everybody's first name. So make sure you stop and really spend some time to write a subject line that works. The way we do it, and this is the way the professionals do it, is write 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 different subject lines for the same email. Just let your mind run free. Don't restrain yourself. Write them all out. And then go back and look at them, start to refine them, see if one idea doesn't seem more compelling than others, show it around to different people and see if one stands out. And you will soon discover that you're writing better and better subject lines because you're not just trying to write the perfect line at the first time. You write 10 of them, pick the best one. Write 12 of them, pick the best one. You'll end up with way more effective subject lines. So that's just a little tip that the professional copywriters use. Now, what makes an email a good email? Something that's relevant. Relevance is really the single most important characteristic that makes email copy valuable. And content really is. People read an email for them. They don't read it because you send it. They read it because they think there's something in it for them. So is it a relevant email? Is it interesting? Is it useful? Is it beneficial to them? Does it teach them something? Even if it's entertainment. Entertaining is a valid reason for people to read a message and be interested in it. So just think about the content at the beginning as you're writing your email is what am I really trying to accomplish here? What's the material that I'm going to use to make this happen? And you can tell a story. A story can be relevant, useful, interesting, beneficial, and people will read the story if it relates to them. And if they think there's a payoff or a benefit at the end of it, they will be more inclined to pay attention to it. So make sure that when you're creating your emails, you put some thought into what's this content going to do for my reader? What's in it for them? Because your readers are certainly thinking about it. They're thinking, why should I read this? Clarity, step number 4, tactic number 4, clarity it trumps everything else in email marketing. If your message is clear, it's going to be way more effective than whether it's short or long or formatted in a pretty way. If your message or offer can't be explained in a couple of sentences and can't be understood, then stop and go back and make it clear. And I remember this the other day. And I mean, this was recently, as a week ago. A client asked me. They said, we're trying to create this offer, and we want it to be like this, and then we should have these features to it. And there were two other things we wanted to do, and then we were wondering if we should go this way or that way. And 5 minutes later, they said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, until you can explain that to me in 2 sentences, then it's way too complicated. You got to step back and make it really simple, and explain it to me like I'm 6 years old. No big sentences, no big words, no big paragraphs, no complicated thoughts, no super large words. Just break it down in simple terms and explain it to me like I'm 6. When you can do that, your effectiveness is going to shoot way up because the reader will not be confused by something that they are trying to figure out. What does he mean by that? What does that mean? So, stay away from jargon, stay away from things that your audience might not get. Features and benefits. Sales, when people go into sales, they are trained into features and benefits like crazy. And benefits they're pretty simple once you get the hang of it, but they're hard to get the hang of it. So here's how I like to explain it. A feature is what something is. The benefit is what it does for you. And the benefits are things like they'll save you money, they'll save you time, they'll make you look good, they'll help you get the girl, they'll help you get home faster, they'll help you save a few dollars, you could win the prize, you could be the number one person on the list, you could be the best at what you do, you could feel pride for all of those types of things that relate back to personal motivation. Those are the strongest benefits that they are. I mean, they always come down to the primary motivators of people at a real personal level, but usually you'll see benefits translate into save you time, save you money, make you look good, help you get the girl. I mean, those are the things that are the strongest benefits. And use a benefit on everything. Take a sentence and make sure you extend it to include the benefit. And the best benefits that you want to think about are, for your reader, why should they open this? Why should they read this? Why should they click on this? Why should they do the thing that you want them to do? And that is the true heart of the benefit statement. So if you write a message and don't include any benefits in it, take your checklist when you're going through your campaigns and just see, are there benefits here? And if not, add them in. Number 6, and this is something you see quite a lot, and I see it mostly salespeople exhibit this a lot. Take your email after you write it and just do a count how many times you use a word like you and your versus a word like I, me, we. And just compare the ratio. If your email is loaded up with I's, me's, and we's, essentially what you've got is a email which isn't of interest to people because they don't care about you at the heart of it. But if you start writing about them and pointing at them and directing your language at them, that's what they care about. So your natural tendency is to talk about yourself. And here's what it looks like. Just resist this temptation. This is kind of like the sentence that I see the most. I wanted to tell you about this exciting new offer. And it starts out with an I. It starts out about me, the writer. And really it should start about the reader. You should know about our exciting new offer. And you see the exact same thing was said, but the you really relates to the readers and gets their attention. When I'm talking to you, people are afraid they're going to miss something, or there might be something in it for them, or they might be able to get something. Their ears perk up. So just like when you use their name, people's ears perk up. They just can't help it. And when you talk about I, their eyes glaze over until they can make a connection to it. And they're waiting after you talk about I for them to jump in and use their own I and talk about themselves. So just resist the temptation to lead with I, me's, and we's, and lead with you's and yours, and you'll find and get this and learn that. Get things oriented towards your reader, and this makes a very big difference. And just something, I'll just throw this in. This is a different tip. This is why the words matter and the images and the design sort of matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but sort of matter. You can change the words and make something have a huge impact. You can change the images and the design and have an impact, but not as big an impact. And that's that's a topic for an entire lecture worth of material. And in fact, there's a whole section in the No Spam Email Marketing course all about the use of design and images. And there's a whole section on the use of copy and language and how to make emails work because of it. So sorry, I just dropped into a little aside there. Step number 7 on your checklist is make sure that you have a call to action. What is a call to action? The call to action that you'll probably see most often is click here. So it's not a great call to action, but click here is in fact a call to action. Just like you'll see, the most thing that you'll likely see on websites is a submit button when people want you to fill in a form and submit. Also, not a very effective button, but it's a call to action that you'll see most often. It's pretty rare that you're going to send an email and you don't care if people do anything with it. Sometimes you'll send a message that's just informational, but with my direct response background, I can't help but send an email that tries to get something to happen. Get somebody to talk to a sales rep and start or continue a sales process. Get somebody to get some information and become a lead. Get somebody to spend some money. Get somebody to spend more money. Get somebody to upgrade their service. Get somebody to take a new service. Get somebody to help you clear your inventory and buy something. There's a call to action there that you want people to do, even if you just want them to read more. So the call to action is read the rest of the story here. And you can say click here to read the rest of the story, but make the call to action an action thing, but always have one. And one of the great things about having a call to action is you can count it, and you can discover if 10% of people clicked on your call to action and took the action you wanted to do, or 90% took the action that you wanted them to do. 10% versus 90% is a whole world of difference, and it will educate you on what your audience responds to. One of the great things about email marketing is the responsiveness of it. You will learn what is important to people based on their actions. So just to summarize, when you step back and create email campaigns, think of how different they are just based on doing it this way. One concept per message, really emphasizing the subject line and making it as effective as it can be. Making sure your content is relevant and clearly written. Use benefits to remind people why this is a good thing, why they should open, why they should read, why they should take the call to action. Keep the orientation towards the reader. Don't talk about yourself too much. And when you use a call to action, use a good one. But make sure you have one. If you start looking at every email marketing message through this checklist, you'll start to see so much bad email marketing out there. And that's a good thing, because that means that you can make yours stand out quite easily. Now, I almost forgot. One of the things you tend to forget about is when you're sending an email message, there's a real person at the other end of it. Somebody is going to read it. And what you say does make a difference in what they do. People really will follow if you lead and if you direct things at them and if you use benefits. And people do want to hear from you. So don't let them down. Don't write bad emails. Don't be selfish and talk about yourself. Don't make them long and complicated. Don't waste people's time with irrelevant stuff. And you will discover your audience will totally respond differently to you. So a big rookie mistake is just kind of forgetting that there's a real person reading a message at the end of the day, and you can make a difference on what that person actually does by what you do at your end. So use the checklist. That's where you're going to have the most success in your email campaigns. You'll see the difference. And a real challenge, here's, call it some homework if you will, but go look at some other emails on lists that you are on and just see what they say. Go read their newsletter and see if it's long and complicated. See if it's got 3 columns in it. See if it's easy to figure out what the important thing of it is. See if the message is clear. See if there is a call to action. See what it is. Look at subject lines. So is this one good? Is that one bad? Is this one long? Is this one short? Is this one tricky? Is this one that's not funny after all? And just rate them. See if they follow all 7. Give them a 7 out of 7 if they follow all 7. Give them a 2 out of 7 if they don't follow them at all. And your own skill will develop at creating email campaigns that are way more effective. And this is basically, the amateur just sends an email, the professional goes through the checklist and makes sure that everything is done as effectively as possible. And at the end of the day, you'll get more of what you want by doing it that way. You're sending emails for a reason, and you might want to increase something or get more of something or enhance something or stop something, but you'll get more of it by doing it properly. So thanks very much for spending your time and listening to these tips. There is a PDF file that has these written down with some other examples of them as well that you can download and read. Keep your eye out in your box for more training videos, more modules. There's another one coming in a few days, and feel free to make a comment below, share your thoughts. I'll reply back, and because I do monitor these things, and we will see you next time.